And this now. Tehran and Riyadh cut off diplomatic ties in 2016, but both are speaking lately in an effort to reach some sort of a status quo in the Gulf. With us now from Manama in Bahrain is Abdulla Aljenaid. And from New York, Camelia Entekhabifard. Good evening to you both.
Good evening, Jake.
Thank you.
Camelia, I want to start with you. Apparently, they just had a fifth round of talks. Can you guess for us what are they talking about?
I believe the talks between Iran and Saudi Arabia has so much ties and links to Iran talks with Western powers and the United States over its nuclear program. We remember that the 2015 the regional countries asking President Obama, at the time president of the U.S., to discuss the regional issues with the Iranian counterpart, which never be concluded at the deal. At this time, too, there is nothing included from the regional discussion to reviving Iran nuclear deal, but at the same time, they were discussing maybe Iran Revolutionary Guards to be removed from the terrorist list. And it makes the regional countries so much worrying, seeing Iran activities in the region, seeing how they can be threatened by missiles and the drones. It makes them to believe they have to be individually get involved and talk to Iran and make their own problem address. And for the Iranian also is important, this talks, because they were saying as long as they don't have the support of the regional countries, especially the Saudi Arabia, it's not that easy for them to lift up, to ask the United States to lift up the Revolutionary Guards from the terrorist list. So I want to say these talks and the talks in Vienna all are related. And whenever that talk stops, we were seeing Saudi and Iran have a new round of the discussions. And by then we would see the United States also going back to the negotiation tables. And when the talks is weakened in Vienna, we were seeing Iranians are pulling out from the talks with Saudi Arabia.
And let me toss to Mr. Al-Jenaid. What's your best guess of what are they talking about really? What are they trying to achieve?
I think, Jacob, the most important thing is not what are the topics that the Saudis and the Iranians are discussing. The major issue here is a departure point from using, let's say, friendly powers to interpret or represent our intentions or even our wishes in terms of restabilizing the region. And we all know what sort of policies that the Iranians are, let's say, adapting. Now, since we have, or the Saudis and UAE decided to engage Iran directly, at least we are putting on the table directly and not through a third party what we understand as predominant issues that need to be handled directly and not through, again, as through a third party. The restabilizing the region. If Iran is willing to engage with its regional partners in achieving that, and not just Yemen, we have pressing issues in terms of international, trade routes. We have Iraq that is going through a very delicate transition political period. We have Syria that we all hoping that one day we will, cross that threshold and probably put something on the ground that represent lifting the suffering of the Syria. We have Yemen, we have Africa as well, that Iran is meddling in that policies, and it is affecting the stability of Eastern Africa and even furthermore. Now, what the Saudis' priorities definitely regional to start with, but definitely with eyes on Vienna, with eyes on the failing U.S. policies in terms of containing Iran and continuing to stay the same course with total disregard to the interests of its strategic partners in the Middle East, that includes Israel.
When they do this, talk about all these issues, do the Saudis have any leverage on Iran at all? And I'm going to ask you, Mr. Aljenaid.
I'll put it this way: at the present time, the regional powers here, namely Saudi Arabia and UAE, were, let's say, they were in a way discredited in terms of the international community not saying very progressive or engaging diplomacies. Now, the Saudis have never failed to express or invest in proactive diplomacy with Iran. But Iran have always turned around and rejected or came off all the promises that they made to the Saudis, to the European, and to the American, and any other regional partner. Now, would we lose faith? We have, let's say, we are willing definitely to invest further diplomatically and politically. Would the Iranian honor their promises that they make? Unfortunately, we know that they will not do. But again, what we are trying to do is making the international community aware of all the processes that we are taking on our part and linking all that to the talks in Vienna.
Mm-hmm. Camelia, you want to add to that?
I'm thinking that just to answer your question about the leverage, I'm not seeing a leverages. Now the regional countries reach a very mature policy and understanding and running their own businesses individually from the West and the United States, which they can decide, they can address the issues, they can create their own policies to discuss the matters directly. Prince Mohammed bin Salman last March in an interview he says his country is looking to have an agreement with Iran which both countries can benefit. That it's not about who has less or more leverage. They just want Iran to stop this aggregation of the regional countries, the security of the Persian Gulf to be addressed, the secure line of the energy passing from the Strait of Hormuz, and also the interferences in the regional country, as my other dear friend addressed, from Lebanon to Yemen to Iraq to Syria. If regional countries can have this agreement with Tehran before Iran nuclear deal revive in Vienna, I could say maybe at that point we can have a different approaches towards of the situations. The problem is Iran is run by the Revolutionary Guards. This government is a government of the Revolutionary Guards. From the people who negotiating in Vienna to the foreign minister of Iran to head of the parliament, all of them had been a member of the Revolutionary Guards, resigned, or they have two dual business jobs currently. And everyone have to deal with a country which their government's member are the member of the Revolutionary Guards. So speaking of that, the regional country understand that the United States lost its interest of this region, or better to say, change or focus its policy to different parts of the world.
Right.
They understand they have to sort out their own issues without the United States. And with the Islamic Republic, also they have to deal separately than what the discussion it goes in Vienna.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time. Unfortunately, I want to thank you both, and we'll have a chance to speak more about all the issues, I'm sure. Thank you very much to both of you.